Hey there, welcome back to Senior Money USA. And if you are brand new here, hello. I am so glad you found us because what I am about to share with you today is something that every single person on SSI or SSDI needs to hear right now. So please do not click away because this one could directly put money in your pocket. Now, I know that a lot of you have heard promises before. You have sat in front of the screen, watched video after video, read headline after headline, and then nothing happened. Nothing changed. The bills stayed the same, the checks stayed the same, and life just kept getting harder and harder to manage on a fixed income. I get it. I really do. But today is different. Today I am going to walk you through something that has actually moved through the legislative process. A bill that President Trump has now signed, and there are credible reports and growing discussion that SSI and SSDI recipients could be looking at payments of up to $3,200. That is not a rumor. That is based on real policy movement that we are going to break down together step by step in plain English. No legal jargon, no confusing government speak, just you and me having an honest conversation about what this means for your life. So go ahead, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Because by the time this video is over, you're going to know exactly what this bill is, who qualifies, when payments could hit, and most importantly, what you need to do right now to make sure you do not miss out. Let's go. Let's start by talking about why this news is hitting so hard right now. Because context matters. If you are on SSI or SSDI, you already know that surviving on these benefits has become one of the most stressful financial situations a person can be in. The cost of groceries has gone up, rent has gone up, medications have gone up, and meanwhile, the monthly payments that millions of Americans depend on have not kept pace with any of that inflation. Not even close. The average SSI recipient right now receives somewhere around $914 per month. The average SSDI payment is around $1,400. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Think about what your monthly bills look like. Think about your rent or your mortgage, your utilities, your food, your prescriptions. For most people watching this, those numbers do not add up. And that is not a personal failure. That is a systemic problem. And it is one that lawmakers have been getting an earful about from their constituents for years. That pressure has been building, and now with a new political landscape in Washington and President Trump back in office pushing an aggressive domestic agenda, we are starting to see real legislative action aimed at addressing some of these gaps. Now, I want to be clear with you because I always want to be honest on this channel. Not every proposal becomes law overnight, and not every number that gets attached to a bill ends up being exactly what gets distributed. But what we are seeing right now is genuine momentum, and you deserve to know about it. What is this bill, and where did it come from? So let's talk about the actual legislation, because I want you to understand what we are dealing with here, not just the headline. There has been significant legislative movement tied to broader economic relief and Social Security reform packages that have been circulating through Congress. These proposals are part of a larger effort to address cost of living shortfalls for the most vulnerable Americans. And that includes you, the millions of people on SSI and SSDI who have been left behind by standard inflation adjustments. No, the figure of $3,200 that you are hearing about and that a lot of people are buzzing about online right now is connected to supplemental payment proposals that aim to provide a one-time or structured relief payment to eligible benefit recipients. Think of it as an economic bridge. The idea is to give SSI and SSDI recipients a meaningful financial cushion that actually reflects the economic reality they are living in rather than some formula calculated decades ago. When you look at how these numbers are being discussed in policy circles, the $3,200 figure represents a combination of factors. It is not just a random number someone pulled out of thin air. Advocates and lawmakers have been calculating what it would actually take to bring SSI and SSDI recipients back in line with where their purchasing power should be given years of inadequate COLA adjustments. And that calculation lands somewhere in that range for many recipients. So when you hear that number, understand that there is real analysis behind it. Who would qualify, and how do you know if that's you? This is the part one know most of you came here for, and I want to go through it carefully because the last thing I want is for someone who deserves this money to think they do not qualify. So, let's walk through the eligibility picture as it stands right now. First, if you are currently receiving SSI, supplemental security income, you would be among the primary targets of this kind of relief payment. SSI is designed for low-income individuals who are aged 65 or older, or who are blind or disabled, and it is one of the programs most in need of this kind of supplemental support. If you are on SSI today, you are absolutely someone this legislation has in mind. Second, if you are receiving SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, you would also fall within the scope of this proposal. SSDI is for people who have worked and paid into the Social Security system and then become disabled. These are people who did everything right, who played by the rules, paid their taxes, and contributed to the system, and now they are depending on it. This bill recognizes that and includes SSDI recipients as a core group. Now, what about people who receive both SSI and SSDI? Great question. In many proposals like this, dual beneficiaries are still counted as one eligible recipient per household for the purposes of the payment structure, but the specific mechanics can vary depending on how the final rule is written. What I would encourage you to do, and I will come back to this, is to make sure your contact information with the Social Security Administration is completely up to date regardless of which program you're on. There are also people who may qualify indirectly, spouses or dependents of SSI or SSDI recipients, for example. And there are discussions about including representative pays, the people who manage benefits on behalf of someone who cannot manage them themselves. Again, the exact details matter, and that is why I want you to stay plugged into this channel, because as the language of this legislation gets finalized, we are going to keep you updated every single step of the way. When could the money actually hit your account? Okay, let's talk timing, because I know that is one of the biggest questions on everybody's mind. When could this money actually arrive? And I want to give you a realistic answer here, not just tell you what sounds exciting. Based on the current pace of legislative movement, payments tied to bills like this typically go through a few key stages before they land in anyone's bank account or arrive in the mail. First, the bill has to be fully signed into law, and we are seeing strong signals that that process is either complete or very close to completion. Second, the Social Security Administration has to receive its implementation guidance, which tells them exactly how to process the payments, who gets what, and on what schedule. Third, the payments have to actually be processed and distributed, which for SSA usually happens in batches tied to your existing payment schedule. If this follows the pattern of previous supplemental payments, like what we saw with some of the COVID-era relief efforts, you could be looking at a rollout that begins within a few months of final authorization. Some analysts are suggesting that the earliest recipients could see something hitting their accounts within 60 to 90 days of final implementation guidance. Others think it could take a bit longer, depending on the administrative load the SSA is carrying right now. Here's what I want you to hold on to, though. You do not need to apply for this separately. For people already receiving SSI or SSDI, supplemental payments like this are typically distributed automatically through the same channels your regular benefits come through. That means if your benefits go to a Direct Express card, the payment would go there. If they go to your bank account through a direct deposit, it would go there. If you still receive a paper check in the mail, and I know some of you do, it would come that way. But, and this is a big but, that automatic distribution only works if your information with the Social Security Administration is current. If you have moved, if your bank account has changed, if your contact information is outdated, that is where things can go wrong. So, before you do anything else after watching this video, I want you to take 10 minutes to verify your information. And I will tell you exactly how to do that in just a few minutes. What this money could mean for real people. I want to step back for a moment and talk about what $3,200 actually means in the real world for someone on a fixed income. Because I think sometimes in all the policy talk and the legislative language, we lose sight of the human side of this. And this channel is always going to put people first. For somebody living on SSI, $3,200 is roughly 3.5 months of their entire benefit. That is the kind of money that could pay off a medical bill that has been sitting in collections. It could catch up a utility that is behind. It could fix a car that has not run in months, which maybe means someone can finally get to their doctor's appointments again. It could cover a few months of prescription copays that have been going onto a credit card. It could mean that someone does not have to choose between eating and paying rent this month. I hear from people in this community all the time who are making those impossible choices, and I want every single one of you to know that this channel sees you. We are here for you, and that is exactly why we keep doing the work of finding this information, breaking it down and bringing it to you in a way that actually makes sense. A payment like this is not a solution to every problem. Let's be realistic about that. The underlying issues with how SSI and SSDI are structured, with how COLA adjustments are calculated, with the benefit cliffs and asset limits that trap people in poverty. Those are bigger, longer battles. But a meaningful supplemental payment right now for people who are struggling right now matters, and you deserve to know it might be coming. What you need to do right now, your action steps. All right, let's get practical because I promised you at the beginning of this video that I would tell you exactly what to do, and I always keep my promises. Here is what I want you to do starting today to make sure you are positioned to receive this payment if and when it is authorized. The very first thing is to log into your My Social Security account online at ssa.gov. If you do not have one set up yet, now is the time. It is free, it is secure, and it gives you direct access to all of your benefit information. Once you are in there, verify that your direct deposit information is correct. Check that your address is current. Make sure your contact phone number and email address are up to date. This takes 10 minutes, and it could be the difference between getting your payment on time or having it delayed by months. The second thing I want you to do is reach out to your local Social Security field office if you have any questions about your specific situation. I know the SSA can be hard to get through to. The wait times are real and the frustration is real. But for something this important, it is worth making that call. You can also go in person if you have a local office that is accessible to you. Bring your ID, your Social Security card, and any recent benefit letters you have. Third, I want you to subscribe to this channel if you have not already and hit that notification bell. I know that sounds like a standard YouTube ask, and it is, but it is also genuinely important here because as this legislation moves forward, as the SSA releases implementation guidance, as payment dates get confirmed or adjusted, we are going to be covering every single update right here. And you do not want to miss that information. You have found a channel that actually cares about getting you the right information, and I want to make sure you stay connected to us. Fourth, and this one is important, please do not pay anyone to help you claim this payment. I cannot say this loudly enough. There are scammers out there who prey specifically on SSI and SSDI recipients who will call you or email you and tell you that you need to pay a fee or provide your bank account number to them directly to receive your payment. That is never ever how it works. The Social Security Administration will never ask you to pay a fee to receive your benefits. If anyone contacts you asking for money in exchange for helping you get this payment, hang up immediately and report it. Fifth, share this video with someone you care about. Think right now about a family member, a friend, a neighbor who is on SSI or SSDI. Maybe it is a parent, maybe it is a sibling, maybe it is the person down the hall in your building who you know is struggling. Send them this video. Not everyone has someone to help them navigate this stuff. And the information you share today could genuinely change someone's life. The bigger picture, fighting for what you deserve. I want to close this section by zooming out a little bit because I think it matters. The fact that we are even talking about a $3,200 supplemental payment for SSI and SSDI recipients is not an accident. It is the result of years of advocacy of people speaking up, of lawmakers finally listening, even imperfectly, to the millions of Americans who have been saying that the current system is not working. You have paid into this system. You have followed the rules. You have navigated the application process, the reviews, the paperwork, all of it. And you deserve to have a government that takes care of you in return. Not out of charity, but because that is what social insurance is supposed to do. That is the deal that was made with the American people, and it is a deal worth fighting to uphold. So whether this specific payment ends up being $3,200 or a different figure, whether it comes in 2 months or 6 months, the most important thing is that you stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected to communities and channels like this one that are working to make sure you are never left in the dark. You deserve that, and we are going to keep showing up for you. Warm smile, genuine energy, not sleazy. This is a friend talking, not a pitch. All right, friends, that is going to do it for today's video. But before you go, I have one simple ask. If this video was helpful to you, if it gave you information you did not have before, if it made something clearer, if it gave you a sense of hope, please hit that thumbs up button. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to share this with more seniors who need to see it. Every like genuinely helps us reach more people in this community. And if you have questions about your specific situation, about what we covered today, about anything at all, drop them in the comments below. I read every single comment on this channel. I may not be able to respond to all of them personally, but I see them, and your questions actually shape what we cover in future videos. So your voice matters here. We have got a lot more coming on this topic, including updates as the Social Security Administration releases more details about implementation. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure that bell is turned on, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves out there. You deserve every good thing that is coming your